breathe the air of a planet 4.2 light-years from Earth. That's right, Proxima Centauri-B, the closest planet to our star, the Sun, beyond our solar system. But what would happen if you tried to breathe the air from this distant planet? Prepare yourself. What you will discover may shock you. Proxima Centauri-B is located in its star's so-called habitable zone, meaning it could theoretically harbor liquid water on its surface. However, the reality of this planet is very different from what we imagine. Its atmosphere is not friendly to humans. Instead of oxygen, the air is made up of carbon dioxide, methane, and other extremely toxic gases. This would make any attempt to breathe local air not only impossible but fatal. You would begin to lose consciousness quickly, with respiratory collapse occurring within a matter of seconds. But that's not all. Proxima Centauri-B is exposed to intense radiation from its star, Proxima Centauri, a red dwarf. Unlike our Sun, which has a magnetic field that protects us, Proxima Centauri-B's magnetic field is weak or non-existent, which leaves the planet vulnerable to harmful radiation. If you tried to explore the planet without a proper spacesuit, the effects would be devastating. Cell damage, severe burns, and, ultimately, organ failure. In addition to radiation, temperatures on the planet vary drastically, making it even more inhospitable. Some regions can be extremely hot, while others can be freezing. The planet does not have the ideal conditions that we have on Earth, with a balanced climate and an atmosphere that supports life. On the contrary, Proxima Centauri-B is a planet with extreme temperatures, deadly radiation, and a hostile atmosphere. To survive there, advanced technologies would be needed that we do not yet possess. So why do scientists continue to study Proxima Centauri-B, despite all these extreme conditions? The answer lies in our insatiable desire to explore the unknown. We are in a constant search for more knowledge, for answers about the existence of life outside Earth, and for planets that can support life. Space exploration leads us to a deep yearning to understand the universe and discover if there is more than our small existence on Earth. But the truth is that no matter how hard we try, Proxima Centauri-B reminds us of our fragility in the face of the vastness of the cosmos. The planet is a reminder that the universe has its own laws and challenges, and that our survival in places so far from Earth will not be easy. However, that doesn't stop us from dreaming and continuing to explore. The search for planets like Proxima Centauri-B is just beginning, and who knows what the future holds. To continue exploring the mysteries of the universe, you can't help but like and subscribe to the channel, or perhaps we may never see you here again. So it's very important that you subscribe right now and fasten your seatbelts, because what comes next will surprise you even more and leave your hair on end. Let's go to the video. Imagine yourself looking up at the sky on a clear night, the vastness of space stretching out infinitely before you. The stars shine like little points of light, but in reality, each of them is a distant sun, with planetary systems and worlds that could be as mysterious as the stars themselves. Among the billions of stars that make up our galaxy, the Milky Way, there is one that stands out for its proximity to Earth, a system that has been the subject of investigations, speculation, and even fascination. This star is called Proxima Centauri, and around it there is a planet that attracts the attention of scientists, astronomers, and space exploration enthusiasts like never before. Proxima Centauri-B. Proxima Centauri-B is situated a mere 2 light-years away, which in astronomical terms appears to be a reasonably small distance considering the vastness of the cosmos. However, this distance is still so immense that, even traveling at the speed of light, it would take us more than 4 years to reach it. But what makes this exoplanet so fascinating? Why is he the subject of so much study and speculation? To begin with, Proxima Centauri-B is a rocky planet, located in the so-called habitable zone of its star system. This means that it orbits its star at a distance that allows the presence of liquid water on its surface, one of the fundamental conditions for life, as we know it, to exist. The idea that there could be life outside Earth, in such distant places, is something that stirs our imagination and our deepest questions about the universe. Did this distant planet once harbor life, or perhaps still harbor it? And most intriguing, could aliens be there observing as we observe the stars? Proxima Centauri-B has extreme conditions. The star that illuminates it, Proxima Centauri, is a red dwarf that, despite being much cooler than our Sun, has intense stellar activity. This means that the planet suffers from much greater radiation than Earth, which creates a hostile environment. But paradoxically, it is precisely this type of environment that makes the planet so intriguing to scientists. Even with these harsh conditions, the fact that it is in the habitable zone of its star puts it at the center of many studies into the possibility of extraterrestrial life. After all, when we think about life, we cannot limit our imagination to just the conditions we find on Earth. Next, Centauri-B also raises another fascinating question. What happens when a planet orbits a star so close to its center, as happens here? The fact that the planet is so close to its star likely means it is locked in a synchronous rotation. In other words, one side of the planet always faces the star, while the other remains in eternal darkness. This phenomenon creates extreme environmental conditions, with one side of the planet being heated intensely and the other immersed in the freezing cold of deep space. But it is precisely at these extremes that life, in its most unlikely form, could find a way to thrive. Science is still just beginning to understand how these extreme worlds work, and each new piece of information about Proxima Centauri-B brings us closer to answers that until recently would have been unimaginable. Now imagine what would happen if at some point scientists discovered signs of life on that distant exoplanet. What would this mean for our understanding of the universe, our own existence, and the future of humanity? This question has been debated with each advance in space science. NASA, along with other space agencies around the world, continues to develop technologies that will one day allow us to send probes to explore these distant worlds. Who knows, perhaps one day, not too far away, we will be able to reach Proxima Centauri-B and uncover the secrets it hides. But for now, this remains in the realm of speculation. The question of life beyond Earth is not just an exercise in the imagination. The cosmos is immense, with billions of galaxies, trillions of stars, and an incalculable number of planets. We are not alone, and Proxima Centauri-B, with all its unique features and mysteries, is just one of the many fronts where science is trying to find answers to the big question, are we alone in the universe? But don't think that we are frozen in time. Space exploration and the search for habitable exoplanets continue to advance at a rapid pace. The James Webb Space Telescope, for example, is one of the most powerful instruments ever created to observe planets outside our solar system. With it, we can study the atmospheres of distant planets, look for signs of life, and better understand the ingredients that make a planet habitable. Each new mission, each new piece of data that arrives, brings us a little closer to the moment when we can answer this question definitively. And this leads us to an even deeper reflection. What if, when we look into space, we are not just seeking answers to scientific questions, but also trying to understand our own place in the cosmos? The fact that we are here, on our planet, is a cosmic miracle. Like Earth, all the planets that orbit other stars have unique histories, and perhaps there are other worlds with life forms that are so different from ours that we can barely imagine them. What can we learn from these worlds? What lessons does the universe have to teach us about life, the destiny of humanity, and the very meaning of our existence? These are questions that astronomers and scientists continue to explore with fervor, and as new discoveries about the universe and distant planets continue to be made, the questions only multiply. However, Proxima Centauri-B remains a crucial starting point in our search for answers. It challenges us to think beyond the limits of our solar system, to consider possibilities for life in places where we previously thought nothing could survive. For now, Proxima Centauri-B continues to orbit its distant star in a vast and mysterious universe that we are still trying to understand. And who knows, one day we can travel there to see with our own eyes what this planet has to offer. The future of space exploration is full of promise and possibilities, and Proxima Centauri-B is just the beginning of a journey that could forever change the way we view the universe and our place in it. And while we wait for answers, the question persists, increasingly intriguing. What is there waiting to be discovered? Do you think Proxima Centauri-B could harbor some form of life, or is it just another distant, desolate planet? Leave your opinion in the comments. We are eager to know what you think about this cosmic mystery. Now imagine that you are in a completely unknown scenario. You are there looking at the starry sky, surrounded by a deep and terrifying silence, far from everything you know. Suddenly you find yourself on Proxima Centauri-B, a distant planet, orbiting the star Proxima Centauri, in the most remote region of the universe we have ever explored. What would it take to survive in this world, so distant and full of mysteries? What would the simple act of breathing be like? The atmosphere of Proxima Centauri-B, unlike ours, is a lethal poison for humans. Although there are some superficial similarities with Earth's atmosphere, such as the presence of gases, the composition is of such a hostile nature that it would be impossible to survive there without suitable equipment. Imagine the feeling of trying to breathe air that is practically impenetrable to our lungs. What would you feel? First, a gradual suffocation, a tightness in the chest, a feeling that life is leaving your body. This happens because, although Proxima Centauri-B is in its star's habitable zone, the air on this planet is mainly composed of carbon dioxide, a gas that, in high concentrations, can be fatal to any human being. There is no oxygen, the vital element for our survival. You might ask yourself, but why does this happen? The answer lies in the fact that Proxima Centauri-B, like other rocky planets orbiting red dwarf stars, faces a series of conditions that make the formation of a breathable atmosphere extremely difficult. The star Proxima Centauri, although it is the closest star to Earth, is extremely active, emitting intense radiation that can profoundly impact the planet's environment. Furthermore, Proxima Centauri-B is very close to its star, which means that the radiation reaching its surface is devastating, altering its atmospheric composition irreversibly. Have you ever wondered what would happen if a person had to breathe this air? The risk is immediate. The lack of oxygen would be just the beginning. The carbon dioxide present in excess would be toxic, and the suffocation effect would be rapid. Breathing, although instinctive, would become increasingly difficult. The dense air loaded with poisonous gases would leave no room for the oxygen we need to survive. This would cause total asphyxiation, and the human body would not be able to process the harmful gases. Imagine an astronaut, dressed in his heavy spacesuit, trying to do what we all do every day: breathe. But instead of clean, vital air, he inhales a mixture of gases so heavy and corrosive that, with each breath, life drains from his body. The air of Proxima Centauri-B is a death trap, invisible to our eyes but deadly to our physiology. Now imagine the possibilities. If one day humanity decided to colonize planets outside our solar system, what preparation would be necessary so that our bodies do not succumb to the hostile environment? We would need highly advanced technology to filter toxic gases, create pressurized environments, and ensure that oxygen was constantly supplied. Just a basic spacesuit, not even a conventional spacecraft, would not be enough. It would require something completely new, a technological revolution in physics and engineering, perhaps even more advanced than anything we have achieved in our current missions. And it's not just the air that makes Proxima Centauri-B an inhospitable place. The atmospheric pressure on this exoplanet can be very different from ours, affecting the way our bodies would react to the environment. Every breath, every movement would be a constant challenge. Proxima Centauri-B's gravity, although slightly stronger than Earth's, would also create an effect you might not imagine. Stronger gravity could affect blood circulation, digestion, and even the functioning of internal organs, making any attempt to adapt a slow and extremely risky process. Now go back to your imagination for a moment and visualize the scene. You find yourself in a hostile environment where the light of a red star shines constantly and the planet slowly rotates around you, an alien and disconcerting landscape. The rocky surfaces covered in a thin layer of poisonous gases are not inviting. Mountains and seas, if they exist, are just static forms that testify to the immensity of space. The air, in its deadly thickness, prevents any attempt at action. And you, an ordinary human, are there, with your eyes fixed on the horizon, trying to understand what happened to that planet, to your own body, to your own existence. This is not science fiction. This is the harsh reality of what we face if we want to expand beyond the limits of our own solar system. As science advances and space exploration missions become increasingly sophisticated, exoplanets like Proxima Centauri-B are the next step in our understanding of the cosmos. However, they also remind us of the fragility of human life. We are dependent on a series of precise conditions for our survival. If something in our environment were to change, even in the slightest, our existence could be put at risk. And Proxima Centauri-B, with its deadly atmosphere, is a clear reflection of how vast, unpredictable, and often unforgiving the universe is. As more data about this distant planet is collected and analyzed, questions arise. Is there something beyond what our eyes can see? Radiation from the star Proxima Centauri may hide secrets that we still cannot understand. What we know today about Proxima Centauri-B is just a fraction of what actually exists there. Each new discovery about this exoplanet could bring us closer to answering fundamental questions about life, the universe, and our own future. But for now, we can only watch with a mixture of fascination and fear, trying to unravel the mysteries of this planet, so distant, but at the same time so relevant to our understanding of the cosmos. Now tell me, do you believe that humanity could someday find a way to colonize a planet as hostile as Proxima Centauri-B? Or is it destined to be an untouchable world, forever beyond the reach of our dreams of exploration? What do you think science would need to discover to make this possible? Leave your opinion in the comments. We are curious to know what you think about this challenging issue. Now, imagine yourself on Proxima Centauri-B, the exoplanet that orbits the star Proxima Centauri. Your mission: breathe. You are there, hoping to survive, believing that the atmosphere may be friendlier than it seems. But as soon as you take your first step on the surface of this planet, you feel something strange. The air, dense and relentless, surrounds your body, and almost instantly your lungs try to pull what would be oxygen into your blood. But instead, the atmosphere of Proxima Centauri-B offers only poison. Carbon dioxide is the only abundant substance, and oxygen is practically non-existent. What happens next is terrifying, a physical process that occurs so quickly that it is impossible to react. In a matter of seconds, your body goes into panic. The air, instead of revitalizing your flesh, begins to suffocate, flooding your lungs with a lethal substance. The lack of oxygen causes an immediate sensation of suffocation. The lung, unable to function properly, is forced to fight for every bit of air, but all it can get is more and more carbon dioxide. Every attempt to breathe only makes the situation worse. The pressure in your lungs intensifies, and although you try to remain calm, it's impossible to ignore the feeling that the air is slowly stealing the life from you. Your blood, which should be loaded with oxygen, can no longer transport this vital element to the body's tissues. The lack of oxygen quickly begins to affect your organs, and your once strong muscles begin to feel the devastating effects of this lack. The brain, which depends so much on oxygen, soon begins to react. Mental confusion sets in, blurred vision. The extremities of the body begin to feel numb. The blood, unable to fulfill its function of transporting oxygen to vital organs, begins to clot, generating a tingling sensation in the hands and feet. If you could observe, your skin would be turning pale, almost bluish. The blood that still circulates is now in a constant struggle, trying to keep the body functioning, but there is not much it can do anymore. The body's tissues, without oxygen, begin to slowly disintegrate. The respiratory collapse begins, and you feel that life begins to slip away in a silent but absolutely certain way. But it's not just the air that poses a risk on Proxima Centauri-B. The gravity of this planet, although similar to that of Earth, can create an even more devastating effect. Now imagine that as your body struggles to process the poison in the air, it is also being affected by gravity. The moment your circulatory system becomes overloaded due to lack of oxygen, the effects of gravity begin to manifest themselves in a brutal way. The pressure on your heart increases, making blood circulation even more difficult. Your muscles, weakened by the absence of oxygen, have difficulty supporting your body. Even if you try to move, gravity exerts an increasing force on you, making each step more difficult, as if an invisible hand is pulling you down. Now imagine the terror this generates. A human body being pressured by both the lack of oxygen and the force of gravity. Extremities begin to fail, and loss of coordination becomes inevitable. The heart, struggling to pump blood without oxygen, can begin to fail as well. Each beat seems weaker, and his body, which has always been a coordinated, unbeatable machine, begins to fall apart. His brain, in panic, tries to deal with the situation, but he also cannot resist this combined force of suffocation and pressure. And if you thought that this physical agony was limited to the breathing process, you would be mistaken. Your nervous system starts to suffer too. Every cell, every nerve starts screaming in search of oxygen, but it's all in vain. The brain, deprived of its primary function, can begin to shut down vital functions. Ultimately, this lack of oxygen triggers a series of chain reactions that, if left unchecked, would lead to multiple failures in the body's systems. Death, painfully and relentlessly, would be a matter of time. But what happens to your body on a molecular level? The absence of oxygen directly affects the cellular respiration process. Energy production in cells, which normally occurs through oxygen oxidation, does not occur. Cells begin to slowly die, unable to perform their essential functions. This leads to the total collapse of your vital organs, so quickly that it is almost impossible to notice the change until it is too late. The brain, previously able to maintain its clarity of thought and reasoning, begins to disconnect from reality. Your senses start to fade away, one after another. Over time, prolonged exposure to this deadly air would cause the pressure on your body to be immeasurable. The lack of oxygen and excess carbon dioxide would be so intense that before a complete collapse, the human body would enter a comatose state, where consciousness would be a distant memory. Death, inevitable, would happen after a torturous process of failure of all the body's systems, but as the brain disconnected from everything, you would no longer feel anything. Everything would have become a memory of a world that was not made for human life. Now reflect on the true magnitude of your own fragility before the universe. Nearby Centauri-B, with its poisonous atmosphere and relentless radiation, shows us not only the vastness of the cosmos, but also our own limitations as a species. Space, with its infinite immensity, has the power to confront us with the reality that life is a rare phenomenon, and that survival beyond Earth is a struggle against forces we cannot control. Can you imagine what would happen if a human being was actually exposed to these conditions? What do you think it would take to face the challenge of surviving on a planet with such characteristics? Leave your opinion in the comments. How do you believe science could overcome such obstacles? When looking at the cosmos, the vastness of the universe constantly reminds us of the fragility of our own existence. Next, Centauri-B, with its unforgiving and lethal atmospheric conditions, brings us face to face with a challenge that transcends human imagination. The search for extraterrestrial life and the attempt to understand the mysteries of the universe lead us to explore places that would previously only be part of myths or science fiction. However, the truth is far more terrifying than any story we have ever heard. Now take a moment and imagine that we are taking our first steps outside of our own planet. You, astronaut, with your visibility limited by your helmet and the strange pressure of gravity on your body, feeling a mixture of excitement and fear. We are facing what could be one of the greatest adventures in human history, exploring an exoplanet in a distant galaxy. But upon stepping onto this alien terrain, what we find is not the promising future of humanity, but a wall of natural barriers, which remind us that the universe is not a field open to our easy exploration. In fact, it's a system of obstacles, each one scarier than the last. The atmosphere of Proxima Centauri-B is not just a physical barrier, but a silent warning that the universe, in its immensity, was not made for our survival. With the lack of oxygen, the high concentration of carbon dioxide and the intense radiation from its star, it would be impossible for human beings to survive without extremely advanced technology, something that we may not even imagine yet. The human body, designed to live on Earth, is not prepared to withstand the extreme conditions of other planets. With each breath, the poison in the air would take over our system, and the familiar laws of physics would become an even more challenging obstacle, with the intensified gravity making each movement an arduous and almost unbearable task. This makes us reflect on the real limits of space exploration. We are children of a planet, Earth, which offers unique and precise conditions for our survival. But at the same time, we are aware that the cosmos constantly challenges us to go beyond, to break these limits, to seek our presence in worlds where our very existence becomes a struggle. What do we really know about the universe? Is our own life on Earth just a cosmic accident, a rare episode in an immense galaxy where the chances of us finding another place like ours are slim? The Big Bang, the origin of everything, was just the beginning of an epic story, but one that sometimes makes us question how far we can go without getting lost. The reality is that no matter how far we have come in space exploration, such as missions to Mars or ambitious plans to send astronauts to moons like Titan, we are still in our infancy in the face of the vastness of the cosmos. Our greatest space feats, such as the Apollo mission that took man to the moon or the construction of telescopes like Hubble, are just the first pages of a cosmic book that is infinitely vaster than we can imagine. The real question that challenges us is not, can we explore space, but what are the costs and sacrifices that humanity will have to make to cross the boundaries of our solar system and reach a future among the stars? Next, Centauri-B is a clear reminder that space exploration is a path fraught with challenges, and that survival beyond Earth will not be an easy task. But on the other hand, it is also an invitation for our curiosity to lead us to seek answers to the biggest questions in the universe. Are we prepared to face the dangers of the cosmos? And most importantly, are we willing to make the sacrifices necessary to ensure that humanity can have a future beyond Earth, exploring not only our solar system, but also distant galaxies? The cosmos does not offer us an easy answer, and perhaps it never will, but it challenges us to move forward, to investigate, to seek, and above all, to question. Now, I'd like to hear what you think about this. What do you think of the possibility of humanity one day inhabiting a planet like Proxima Centauri-B, despite its deadly risks? Do you believe we should invest more in space exploration, or would it be more sensible to focus on solving the problems we have at home on our own planet? Leave your opinion in the comments. Your thinking is essential to enrich this conversation about our future in the cosmos. Dear explorer of the universe, for you to continue this journey through the cosmos with us, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. This is important. And stay tuned. The next video that will appear on your screen right now will leave you even more impressed with a discovery that could change the way we see space and life beyond Earth. Don't miss it. It will be an even more incredible experience. Until then, keep asking yourself, what is our place in the universe? See you in the next video. See you soon.